The designer bag receipt stared back at me from the kitchen counter like a confession letter. $2,500 for a purse that would hold the same lipstick and lies as any $20 knockoff. I folded the paper carefully, slipped it into my wallet, and poured another cup of coffee. My phone buzzed against the granite countertop. Eden's name lit up the screen with a message that made my jaw clench. "I'm not your property. You don't get to tell me what to do. Don't call me tonight." I set the phone down and stared at it for a long moment. After 15 years of marriage, this was how she chose to communicate. Not face-to-face, not even a phone call. A text message with the emotional depth of a parking ticket. "Well, Eden," I said to the empty kitchen, "you're absolutely right about one thing." I walked upstairs to our bedroom, opened her walk-in closet, and started counting. The jewelry box held earrings I'd bought for her birthday, anniversary, Christmas, the silk scarves from our trip to Boston, the leather boots from last winter, the cashmere sweater she wore to her company parties. Every single item represented a moment when I thought I was showing love. Now they felt like evidence of my own stupidity. My phone rang. Ava's name flashed on the screen. Eden's best friend, the one who encouraged every bad decision and called it empowerment. "Silas, what's going on?" Ava's voice carried that fake concern she used when fishing for gossip. "Eden's freaking out about some bag?" "Just helping my wife achieve her independence," I said, pulling the cashmere sweater from its hanger. "She doesn't want to be my property, so I'm making sure she's not." "What does that mean?" "It means she can buy her own things from now on." I hung up and continued my inventory. The Prada handbag from 2 Christmases ago, the silk dress she wore to her sister's wedding, the designer shoes that cost more than most people's rent. Independence. She wanted independence. I grabbed a laundry basket and started filling it. 20 minutes later, I was loading everything into my truck. The jewelry alone was worth more than $10,000. The clothes, shoes, and accessories probably doubled that amount. I'd kept every receipt, maintained every warranty, treated every item like the investment Eden claimed they were. Time to cash out. The first stop was Nordstrom. The sales associate, a young woman with perfect makeup and a practiced smile, looked confused when I approached the returns counter with an armload of barely worn designer items. "Is everything okay with these pieces?" she asked, scanning the receipt for the cashmere sweater. "They're perfect," I said. "My wife just decided she doesn't want gifts from me anymore. She's embracing independence." The woman's eyebrows rose slightly, but she processed the return without further questions. "Store credit, $450. Next was the jewelry store downtown. The owner, Mr. Castellano, recognized me immediately. I'd been a regular customer for years. "Silas, good to see you. Shopping for Eden again?" "Actually, I'm returning some things." I placed the velvet boxes on the glass counter. "Turns out she doesn't want them." His expression shifted from friendly to concerned. "Is everything all right at home?" "Everything's fine. She just wants to be independent. Buy her own jewelry, make her own choices. I'm just respecting her wishes." Mr. Castellano opened the first box, revealing the diamond tennis bracelet I'd bought for our 10th anniversary. "This is a beautiful piece. You sure about this?" "Completely sure." He processed the returns quietly, occasionally glancing at my face as if searching for signs of a breakdown. I kept my expression neutral, almost pleasant. By the time we finished, I had a check for $8,000 and a business card. "If you change your mind," he said, "I'll hold these pieces for 30 days. I won't change my mind. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My phone buzzed constantly during the drive home. Eden, Ava, even Eden's sister calling to ask what was happening. I ignored them all. Back home, I found Eden's laptop bag in her office. Inside was her work computer, but also a second phone I'd never seen before, a cheap prepaid device with a cracked screen protector. I powered it on. The message history made my stomach turn, but not with sadness, with something much more useful: anger. Porter Lane. I knew the name from Eden's work stories. Real estate developer, smooth talker, the kind of guy who wore expensive suits to hide his cheap character. The messages between them went back 6 months. Can't wait to see you tonight, beautiful. Your husband doesn't deserve you. Meet me at the usual place. I have something special planned. I scrolled through weeks of conversations, each one more intimate than the last. They had pet names for each other, inside jokes, plans for weekend getaways while I worked overtime to pay for those designer bags. The most recent message was from this morning. Don't worry about Silas, he's too boring to figure anything out. I smiled for the first time all day. We'll see about that, Porter. I took screenshots of every conversation, saved them to a flash drive, then put the phone back exactly where I found it. Eden would never know I'd seen it. At least, not yet. My regular phone rang. Eden's number. Silas, what the heck is wrong with you? Her voice was shrill, panicked. Ava said you're returning my things. Your things? I kept my voice calm, reasonable. I thought you didn't want to be my property. That includes the things I bought, right? That's not what I meant, and you know it. I'm not sure I do know it, Eden. You've been pretty clear about wanting independence. I'm just giving you what you asked for. You're being ridiculous. Those are my clothes, my jewelry. Bought with my money, from my accounts, as gifts from me to you. But if you don't want gifts from me anymore, then you don't need to keep them. Silence stretched between us. I could hear her breathing, probably trying to figure out her next move. I'm coming home, she said finally. That's fine. But just so you know, I've changed the locks. Independence means having your own place, right? You can't lock me out of my own house. It's my house, Eden. My name on the deed, my money that paid for it, my credit that secured the mortgage. But don't worry, I'm sure Porter has room for you. The sharp intake of breath told me she hadn't expected that. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. Have a good evening, Eden. Enjoy your independence. I hung up and poured myself a bourbon. Through the kitchen window, I could see Mrs. Tuttle working in her garden next door. She'd lived on this street for 40 years and knew everyone's business before they knew it themselves. She looked up and waved. I waved back, then walked outside. Evening, Mrs. Tuttle. Beautiful roses this year. Thank you, dear. Is everything all right? I saw you loading things into your truck earlier. Just helping Eden with some spring cleaning. She's decided she wants to be more independent, so I'm supporting her decision. Mrs. Tuttle's expression sharpened. She had radar for neighborhood drama. Independent? What does that mean? Well, she doesn't want me buying her things anymore, doesn't want me telling her what to do. She's a modern woman who can take care of herself. I see. Mrs. Tuttle pruned a rose with more force than necessary. And where will she be living while she's being independent? I'm sure she'll figure something out. She's been spending a lot of time at that new development down by the harbor. Maybe she's found a place there. Mrs. Tuttle nodded slowly. The expensive condos? Those are pricey for someone on a PR salary. I'm sure she's got it all worked out. I went back inside, leaving Mrs. Tuttle to digest this information. By tomorrow morning, half the neighborhood would know that Eden Varick was having marital problems and possibly stepping out with someone who could afford Harborview real estate. Small towns were wonderful for information distribution. My phone buzzed with another text from Eden. Please don't do this, we can talk. I typed back, nothing to talk about. You wanted independence. Independence it is. Then I blocked her number and settled in to wait for the real show to begin. The next morning brought 3 things: coffee, rain, and Benny Martinez knocking on my door at 7 a.m. My oldest friend stood on the porch in coveralls, holding a toolbox and grinning like he'd won the lottery. Heard you might need some help with a project, he said, stepping inside without invitation. Mrs. Tuttle called my mom, who called my sister, who called me. Gotta love the neighborhood network. What exactly did you hear? That Eden's decided to spread her wings and fly away from the nest, and that you're helping her along. He set his toolbox on the kitchen counter. What do you need? Benny had been my best friend since 3rd grade. He'd stood up at my wedding, helped me move into this house, and never once judged my choices. Even when those choices included marrying Eden Varick. I need to make some changes to the house, I said. Security upgrades. Smart locks, among other things. We spent the morning installing new deadbolts, changing the garage door codes, and updating the security system. Benny worked quietly, occasionally humming old rock songs, while I explained the situation. So she's been cheating for 6 months? At least 6 months. Could be longer. And this Porter guy thinks you're too boring to figure it out? That's what he said. Benny paused in his drilling. You know, I've done work at those harbor condos. Porter Lane's unit is on the top floor. Real fancy. Glass walls, marble everything, parking garage underneath. Interesting. Also interesting. He drives a white BMW convertible. License plate says, Porter 1. Guy's got an ego the size of his mortgage payment. I filed this information away for later use. Around noon, my phone started ringing. Not Eden's number, which I'd blocked, but her office line. Silas? Eden's voice was strained, careful. Can we please talk? I'm at work, but I could meet you for lunch. I don't think we have anything to discuss, Eden. You've made your position clear. I was angry yesterday. I said things I didn't mean. Which things didn't you mean? The part about not being my property, or the part about me not being allowed to tell you what to do? Silence. Or maybe you didn't mean the part about not calling you at night, because I'm guessing Porter calls you at night. Her sharp intake of breath confirmed what I already knew. I don't know what you think you know. I know enough. Enjoy your independence, Eden. I hung up and looked at Benny, who was pretending not to eavesdrop while installing a new lock on the back door. She's panicking, he observed. Good. What's the next move? I pulled out my laptop and opened Eden's social media accounts. She'd never changed the passwords from the ones we'd set up together years ago. Her Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter were all easily accessible. Social media audit, I said. For the next hour, I scrolled through months of Eden's posts, expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never been to, photos from weekend trips I hadn't been invited on, selfies taken in locations I didn't recognize, and in the background of several photos, barely visible but definitely there, Porter Lane. A hand on her shoulder at a charity event, a reflection in her sunglasses at a wine tasting, a shadow in the window of what looked like a high-end hotel room. She's been flaunting it, Benny said, looking over my shoulder. Just subtle enough that you wouldn't notice unless you were looking. But obvious enough that everyone else would. I saved the photos to my flash drive, then logged into our joint bank accounts. Eden had been busy. Cash withdrawals, restaurant charges, hotel bookings, all on days when she'd told me she was working late or attending work events. How much? Benny asked. About $15,000 over the past 6 months. Ouch. I transferred all the money from the joint accounts into my personal account, then closed the joint accounts entirely. Eden's direct deposit would bounce on Friday. That seems harsh, Benny said. She wanted independence. Independent people pay their own bills. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is childish. Call me. Eden. I showed Benny the message. She got a new phone? Or she's using Porter's. I typed back, who is this? I don't recognize this number. The response came immediately. Stop playing games, Silas. I'm not playing games. I don't know who this is. If you're trying to reach my wife, she doesn't live here anymore. Where am I supposed to live? That's not my problem. You're an independent woman. Figure it out. I blocked the new number and went back to my research. Eden's work email was harder to access, but not impossible. She'd logged in from our home computer enough times that the browser had saved her credentials. Her inbox revealed a treasure trove of personal messages mixed in with work correspondence. Messages to Porter about meeting times and locations, messages to Ava about covering for her absences, messages to her sister about marriage problems and feeling trapped. But the most interesting messages were between Eden and her boss, Mr. Durney. They weren't romantic, but they were definitely suspicious. References to special projects and private clients. Mentions of payments that didn't go through normal company channels. "She's been doing side work," I told Benny, "using company resources for private clients and keeping the money. That's against company policy, right? It's against the law if she's not reporting the income." I copied everything to my flash drive, then cleared the browser history. Eden would never know I'd been in her email. Around 4 p.m., Ava showed up. She knocked on the door like she was trying to break it down, then stood on the porch in designer jeans and an attitude that could cut glass. "Silas, open this door right now." I opened it, but didn't invite her in. "Where's Eden supposed to sleep tonight?" "I have no idea. That's her problem to solve." "You can't just lock your wife out of her own house." "It's my house, Ava. My name on the deed. My money that bought it. Eden made it very clear that she doesn't want to be my property, so she can't live in my property." "That's not what she meant." "Then maybe she should have been more specific." Ava pushed past me into the living room, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. She looked around like she was cataloging everything for evidence. "This is insane, Silas. You're having some kind of breakdown." "I'm having a breakthrough, actually. For the first time in months, I can think clearly." "Eden loves you. Eden loves my credit cards. There's a difference." "She made a mistake, okay? She's sorry." "Which mistake? The affair or getting caught?" Ava's face went pale. "What affair?" "The one with Porter Lane. 6 months of hotels, dinners, and weekend trips. All paid for with my money, of course." "You're paranoid. Eden would never—" "I have the text messages, Ava. I have the photos, the bank records, the hotel receipts. I have everything." She stared at me for a long moment, probably trying to figure out how much I actually knew versus how much I was guessing. "Even if that were true," she said finally, "marriage is about forgiveness. You work through problems together." "You're right. Marriage is about working together. But Eden's not interested in marriage anymore. She wants independence, so I'm giving it to her." "Where is she supposed to go?" "I hear Porter has a nice place down by the harbor. Glass walls, marble everything, parking garage underneath. I'm sure he has room for one more." Ava's eyes widened. "How do you know about Porter's condo?" "Lucky guess." She left without another word, pulling out her phone before she reached her car. By tonight, Eden would know exactly how much I knew and how much trouble she was in. Perfect. Benny finished the security upgrades around 5 p.m. New locks, new codes, new cameras covering every entrance. The house was officially Eden-proof. "What now?" he asked, packing up his tools. "Now we wait for Eden to make her next move." "And then?" I smiled, thinking about Porter's white BMW convertible and his ego-driven license plate. "Then we make ours." Eden showed up at 6 p.m. sharp, just as I was finishing dinner. She stood at the front door in yesterday's clothes, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, looking like she'd spent the night in her car, which, knowing Eden's pride, she probably had. "Silas, please. We need to talk." Through the new glass storm door, she looked smaller somehow, vulnerable. It was a good performance, but I'd seen this act before. "I'm listening," I said, not opening the door. "Can I come in? It's starting to rain again." "This is my house, Eden. You said you didn't want to be my property. That includes not having access to my property." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." "Then what did you mean? Explain it to me." She pressed her palms against the glass, leaving smudges on the clean surface. I meant I wanted you to treat me like an equal partner, not like you own me. Equal partners don't lie to each other for 6 months. I never lied to you. No? Where were you last Tuesday night? Working late. We had a client presentation. You were at the Marriott downtown with Porter Lane, room 412, charged to our joint credit card, which you thought I didn't check. Her face crumpled, but I wasn't sure if it was genuine remorse or just frustration at being caught. How long have you known? Does it matter? Silas, please. I made a mistake. I was confused, lonely. You were bored. There's a difference. Can we please discuss this inside? Like adults? I considered it for a moment, then opened the door. She stepped into the entryway, dripping rainwater on the hardwood floor I'd refinished last summer. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me yet. I led her to the living room but didn't offer her a seat. She stood near the fireplace, hugging herself like she was cold. I ended it, she said. With Porter. It's over. When? This morning. After you blocked my number, I realized how serious you were. I called him and told him we couldn't see each other anymore. And what did he say? She hesitated. He was understanding. He said he knew it couldn't last forever. Understanding? That's interesting because Porter doesn't strike me as the understanding type. You don't know him. I know enough. I know he drives a white BMW convertible with vanity plates. I know he lives in a penthouse condo with glass walls and marble floors. I know he thinks I'm too boring to figure out what's been going on. Eden's eyes widened. How do you know all that? I'm not as boring as you both thought. She sat down on the couch without permission, suddenly looking exhausted. What do you want from me, Silas? I said I was sorry. I ended the affair. What else can I do? You can leave. This is my home, too. No, it's not. Your name isn't on the deed, you didn't pay the down payment, and you haven't contributed to the mortgage in 3 years. This is my house. I've been taking care of it. You've been living in it. There's a difference. So what? You're just going to throw away 15 years of marriage because I made one mistake? One mistake that lasted 6 months and cost me $15,000. I'll pay you back. With what money? I closed our joint accounts this morning. Your direct deposit is going to bounce on Friday, and I'm betting you don't have enough in your personal account to cover your rent, car payment, and credit cards. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You can't do that. I already did it. That's financial abuse. That's financial independence. You wanted to make your own decisions, so now you get to make them with your own money. Silas, please. I know I hurt you, but we can work through this. We can go to counseling, take a trip, start over. I don't want to start over with you, Eden. I want to start over without you. The words hung in the air between us like a challenge. Eden's face cycled through several emotions: shock, anger, desperation, and finally, calculation. Fine, she said, standing up. But I want half of everything. The house, the savings, the business, all of it. You're welcome to call a lawyer. I will. Good luck affording one. She walked toward the door, then turned back. You're making a huge mistake, Silas. I'm the best thing that ever happened to you. No, Eden. You leaving is the best thing that's ever happened to me. She slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Through the glass, I watched her march to her car, pull out her phone, and make a call. Probably to Porter, begging for a place to stay. I was right. 20 minutes later, a white BMW convertible pulled into my driveway. Porter Lane looked exactly like I'd expected. Tall, lean, expensive suit, perfect hair, and the kind of smile that made you want to check your wallet. He climbed out of his car like he was posing for a magazine cover, then walked to my door with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no. I opened the door before he could knock. You must be Silas, he said, extending his hand. Porter Lane, I think we need to talk. I looked at his hand but didn't shake it. About what? About Eden, about this situation, about finding a mature way to handle things. There's nothing to handle. Eden wanted independence, so I gave it to her. End of story. Look, I know this is awkward, but we're all adults here. These things happen. People grow apart, find connections elsewhere. It doesn't have to be ugly. You're right. It doesn't have to be ugly, but it's going to be. His smile faltered slightly. I'm trying to be reasonable here. Reasonable would have been not sleeping with my wife for 6 months. Eden's a grown woman who makes her own choices. And I'm a grown man who makes his own choices. My choice is that you're not welcome on my property. She needs a place to stay tonight. Then I suggest you offer her one. You've been offering her everything else. Porter's facade finally cracked, revealing something harder underneath. You're being vindictive. I'm being practical. Eden wanted out of our marriage, so she's out. Simple as that. It's not that simple. There are legal issues, property rights. Are you her lawyer now, or just her boyfriend? I'm someone who cares about her. Funny way of showing it, destroying her marriage. Her marriage was already over. She told me you two hadn't been happy for years. And you believed her? Why wouldn't I? Because she's a liar, Porter. She lied to me about you. She lied to you about me. And she's probably lying to both of us about other things. He stepped closer, trying to use his height to intimidate me. You don't know what you're talking about. I know she's been skimming money from her company. I know she's been using you to pay for things she couldn't afford. And I know you're too arrogant to see it. That's ridiculous. Is it? How much money have you spent on her in the past 6 months? Hotels, dinners, gifts, trips? Add it up, Porter. I bet it's more than her annual salary. He stepped back, and I could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. She's using you, I continued, just like she used me. The only difference is you're newer and shinier. You're just bitter because she chose me over you. She didn't choose you over me, Porter. She chose your credit card over mine. You don't know Eden like I do. I've known Eden for 15 years. You've known her for 6 months. Which one of us do you think understands her better? He didn't have an answer for that. Here's some free advice, I said. Ask Eden about her side business. Ask her about the private clients she's been working with using company resources. Ask her where that money's been going. What are you talking about? Ask her, Porter, and when she lies to you about it, remember this conversation. I closed the door and watched through the window as he walked back to his car. Eden was waiting in the passenger seat, probably expecting him to return victorious. Instead, he got in, and they sat there talking for several minutes. Even from a distance, I could see the conversation getting heated. Finally, they drove away, leaving me alone in my house for the first time in 15 years. It felt like freedom. The next morning brought consequences. Eden's boss, Mr. Durney, called at 8 a.m. sharp. His voice was tight with barely controlled anger. Mr. Oren, I need to speak with you about Eden. She didn't come to work yesterday, and she's not answering her phone. I'm not Eden's keeper, Mr. Durney. You'll have to ask her yourself. That's the problem. I can't reach her, and there are some irregularities in her accounts that need immediate attention. What kind of irregularities? The kind that could result in termination and criminal charges if not resolved quickly. I let that hang in the air for a moment. I'm sorry to hear that, but it's not my problem anymore. Eden and I are separated. Since when? Since she decided she wanted independence. You should probably try reaching her through Porter Lane. I believe they're staying together now. Another pause. Porter Lane, the developer? That's the one. I see. Well, if you hear from Eden, please tell her to contact me immediately. I'll be sure to pass that along if I see her. I hung up and smiled. Eden's carefully constructed life was falling apart piece by piece, and I hadn't even started the real campaign yet. Benny arrived at 9 with coffee and donuts. looking like a kid on Christmas morning. "So what's the plan for today, boss?" "Research and reconnaissance." "Sounds official. What are we researching?" "Porter Lane's schedule, habits, weaknesses, know your enemy and all that." We spent the morning online, digging through public records, social media, and business filings. Porter was surprisingly easy to research, probably because he loved attention. His real estate company specialized in luxury developments along the coast. He'd made a fortune buying old properties, tearing them down, and building expensive condos for wealthy retirees and summer residents. His personal Instagram was full of photos from charity events, business meetings, and expensive vacations. "Guy's got an ego the size of Texas," Benny observed, scrolling through photos of Porter posing with local politicians and business leaders. "Ego's good, makes people predictable." "What's the plan?" "First, we visit his office. I want to see how he operates." Porter's office was in a converted warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and industrial lighting, the kind of place designed to impress clients and intimidate competitors. His assistant, a young woman with perfect makeup and a practiced smile, greeted us at the reception desk. "Good morning. How can I help you?" "I'd like to speak with Mr. Lane about a potential investment opportunity," I said, handing her a business card from my marine construction company. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I think he'll want to hear what I have to say. It's about the Harbor District development." She disappeared into the back office, returning a few minutes later with Porter himself. He looked surprised to see me, but covered it with his professional smile. "Silas, what a pleasant surprise. Come on back." His office was exactly what I'd expected: floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture, awards and photos covering every wall. The desk was the size of a small car, positioned to make visitors feel small and insignificant. "What can I do for you?" he asked, settling into his chair like a king on his throne. "I wanted to discuss your harbor development project. My company does marine construction, and I think we could help each other." "Really? I wasn't aware you were interested in expanding your business." "There's a lot you don't know about me, Porter." His smile tightened slightly. "Such as?" "Such as the fact that I know every contractor, inspector, and city official involved in waterfront development. I know which permits you'll need, which regulations you'll have to navigate, and which palms you'll need to grease. I have my own people for that." "Do you? Because from what I hear, you're having trouble with the environmental impact study, something about disturbed soil and potential contamination." His face went pale. "Where did you hear that?" "Small town, Porter. People talk." The truth was, I'd made an educated guess based on his recent social media posts. He'd been meeting with environmental consultants and city planners, looking stressed in every photo. The Harbor District had been industrial for decades before being rezoned for residential development. Environmental issues were almost guaranteed. "What do you want?" he asked. "Just to offer my services. I've worked with the EPA before, helped other developers navigate similar issues. I could make your problems go away. For a price." "Everything has a price." He leaned back in his chair, studying me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. "This is about Eden, isn't it? This is about business, Porter. Eden's personal life is her own concern. But you're angry about what happened. I'm grateful for what happened. Eden did me a favor by showing her true colors. Now I can move on with my life." "Then why are you here?" "Because I saw an opportunity. You need help with your development project, and I need new clients. It's just business." He didn't believe me, but he couldn't figure out my angle. That was exactly where I wanted him. Off balance and suspicious. "I'll think about it," he said finally. "Don't think too long. Environmental problems have a way of getting worse if they're not addressed quickly." I left him with that thought and walked out of his office with Benny trailing behind. "What was that about?" Benny asked once we were back in the truck. "Psychological warfare. Porter's used to being in control, making all the moves. Now he's wondering what I'm really up to, and that uncertainty will eat at him." And what are you really up to? Phase 2. We drove to the harbor district, where Porter's luxury condos rose from the waterfront like glass and steel monuments to gentrification. The building was impressive. 30 stories of floor-to-ceiling windows, marble lobby, concierge service, and underground parking. Nice place, Benny said. Must cost a fortune to live here. About $8,000 a month for a one-bedroom. Porter's penthouse probably runs $20,000 or more. How do you know that? I looked it up. Amazing what you can find online these days. We parked across the street and watched the building for an hour. Residents came and went, mostly well-dressed professionals and wealthy retirees. Around noon, a white BMW convertible emerged from the underground garage. Porter, alone. "Where's Eden?" Benny asked. Good question. We followed Porter at a distance as he drove to an upscale restaurant downtown. He met with 2 men in expensive suits, probably investors or city officials. They sat at a table by the window, talking animatedly over lunch. "Business meeting," I observed. "Should we go in?" "No. But we should visit his building while he's gone." The concierge at Porter's building was a middle-aged man with the demeanor of someone who'd seen everything and been surprised by nothing. "Good afternoon," I said, approaching his desk. "I'm here to see Porter Lane." "I'm sorry, but Mr. Lane isn't in right now." "That's okay. I'm actually here about his guest, Eden Varick. She asked me to bring her some things from home." The concierge's expression didn't change, but I caught a flicker of something in his eyes. Recognition, maybe, or concern. "I'll need to call up and confirm that." "Of course." He dialed Porter's unit and waited. No answer. "I'm sorry, but I can't let you up without confirmation from the resident." "Is there a problem?" Eden seemed upset when she called. "Something about being locked out?" "I'm not at liberty to discuss residents' personal situations." "I understand. It's just that she's my wife, and I'm worried about her. She hasn't been answering her phone." The concierge studied me for a long moment, probably weighing policy against human decency. "Mrs. Varick left this morning with several suitcases," he said finally. "She didn't say where she was going." "Left? But I thought she was staying with Mr. Lane." "There was some kind of disagreement last night. Raised voices, doors slamming. She left around 10 a.m. I thanked the concierge and walked back to the truck, where Benny was waiting with barely contained excitement. "What did you find out?" "Eden and Porter had a fight. She moved out this morning." "So where is she now?" "That's what we're going to find out." Eden's sister lived in a suburb 20 minutes outside town, in one of those cookie-cutter developments where every house looked identical except for the color of the shutters. I'd been there exactly twice in 15 years of marriage, once for a birthday party and once for a funeral. Both times I'd felt like an unwelcome intruder. Today, I felt like a hunter. Benny waited in the truck while I walked to the front door. Through the window, I could see movement inside, someone pacing back and forth in the living room. I knocked. Eden's sister, Claire, opened the door with the expression of someone expecting bad news. When she saw me, her face hardened into something approaching hatred. "What do you want, Silas?" "To talk to Eden." "She's not here." "Her car's in your driveway." "She's not available." "Claire, I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to discuss some practical matters, bank accounts, insurance, that sort of thing. You've done enough damage already. I haven't done anything except respond to Eden's choices. You threw her out of her own home. I removed her from my home after she decided she didn't want to be married anymore." "That's not what happened." "Then what did happen?" "Because from where I'm standing, Eden spent 6 months lying to me, cheating on me, and spending my money on her boyfriend. When I found out, she told me she wasn't my property and I couldn't tell her what to do. So I stopped trying." Claire's resolve wavered slightly. "She made a mistake. People make mistakes. Some mistakes have consequences. She's family, Silas. She's my sister. And she was my wife past tense. Eden appeared behind Claire, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, and her eyes were red from crying or anger or both. "What do you want?" she asked. "To discuss the divorce." "I haven't filed for divorce." "Then I will." "On what grounds?" "Adultery. I have evidence." "That's not grounds for divorce in this state." "No, but it affects property division and spousal support. Judges don't like cheaters, Eden." She stepped outside, closing the door behind her. "What are your terms?" "Simple. You keep whatever you brought into the marriage, and I keep everything else." "That's not fair. I contributed to this marriage." "How? By lying? By cheating? By stealing money from our joint accounts to pay for hotel rooms with your boyfriend? I worked. I had a career." "You had a job that you're about to lose because of your side business. How's that going to look to a judge?" Her face went white. "What side business?" "The private clients you've been working with using company resources, the unreported income, the embezzlement." "I never embezzled anything." "Then where did the money go, Eden? $15,000 in 6 months, all cash withdrawals and untraceable expenses? What were you buying that you couldn't put on a credit card?" She didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You're going to sign a separation agreement giving up any claim to the house, the business, and my retirement accounts. In exchange, I won't share certain information with your former employer or the IRS. You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you a choice. Take responsibility for your actions or face the consequences. And if I refuse? Then we do this the hard way. Public divorce, financial discovery, character witnesses. I'll subpoena Porter, your co-workers, everyone who knew about the affair. By the time we're done, your reputation will be so damaged that you'll never work in this town again." "You wouldn't do that." "Try me." She stared at me for a long moment, probably trying to gauge how serious I was. "I need time to think." "You have until tomorrow morning. After that, the offer expires, and we do things my way." I walked back to the truck, where Benny was pretending to read a magazine while obviously eavesdropping. "How'd it go?" he asked. "She's considering her options." "Think she'll sign?" "She doesn't have a choice." We drove back toward town, but instead of going home, I directed Benny to the Harbor District. Porter's BMW was parked outside a waterfront restaurant, and through the window, I could see him sitting alone at the bar. "Want to go in?" Benny asked. "No, but I want him to know we're here." I pulled out my phone and took a photo of his car, then sent it to the number I'd gotten from Eden's secret phone. The message was simple. "Nice car. Would hate to see something happen to it." 5 minutes later, Porter came storming out of the restaurant, looking around frantically. When he spotted our truck, he marched over and banged on the window. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, waving his phone. I rolled down the window. "What's what?" "This message. This threat." "I don't see any threat. I just said it would be a shame if something happened to your car. Cars are expensive to repair." "You're threatening to vandalize my property. I'm expressing concern for your automotive investment. These harbor parking lots can be dangerous. Salt air, seagulls, drunk tourists, anything could happen. I'm calling the police." "And telling them what? That someone sent you a text message expressing concern for your car's welfare?" He realized how ridiculous that would sound and lowered his phone. "What do you want, Silas?" "Nothing from you, Porter. You've already given me everything I needed." "Which is what?" "The truth about Eden, the truth about yourself, the truth about what kind of people you both really are." "You're crazy." "Maybe, but I'm not the one who destroyed a 15-year marriage for a 6-month fling." Eden was unhappy. She wanted out. Eden wanted excitement. There's a difference. But now that the excitement's over and the consequences are starting, where is she? Not with you, apparently. His face reddened. "That's temporary. We had a disagreement, but we'll work it out." "Will you?" Because from what I hear, Eden's got some financial problems that are about to become legal problems. Are you prepared to support a woman who might be facing criminal charges? What are you talking about? Ask Eden. Oh wait, you can't. She's not speaking to you anymore. I rolled up the window and drove away, leaving Porter standing in the parking lot with his phone in his hand and confusion on his face. That was cold, Benny observed. That was necessary. Porter needs to understand that actions have consequences. What about Eden? Eden's about to learn the same lesson. We drove home as the sun set over the harbor, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe freely. My phone rang as we pulled into the driveway. Eden's number. I'll sign, she said without preamble. Smart choice. But I want something in return. You're not in a position to negotiate, Eden. I want you to leave Porter alone. Whatever you're planning, whatever game you're playing, leave him out of it. Porter inserted himself into my marriage. He made himself part of this. He doesn't deserve what you're doing to him. And I didn't deserve what you both did to me. But here we are. Please, Silas, I'm begging you. You're begging me to protect the man you cheated with? The man who helped you destroy our marriage? I love him. No, you don't. You love the idea of him, the excitement he represented, the escape he offered. But you don't love him. You don't know what I feel. I know you left his condo after one fight. I know you're hiding at your sister's house instead of working things out with him. I know you called me instead of him when you needed help. That's not love, Eden. That's convenience. Silence stretched between us. The papers will be ready tomorrow morning, I said. Sign them, and this all goes away. And Porter? Porter's fate is in his own hands, just like yours was. I hung up and looked at Benny, who was shaking his head in amazement. 15 years of marriage, and she's still trying to protect the other guy. She's not protecting him, I said. She's protecting herself. If Porter goes down, he might take her with him. Think she'll actually sign? She doesn't have a choice. Tomorrow morning, Eden Varick learns what independence really costs. I walked into my house, poured myself a bourbon, and sat in my chair by the window. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet, peaceful. Mrs. Tuttle was watering her roses, probably hoping for some gossip to share with her friends. She'd have plenty to talk about soon enough. Tomorrow, Eden would sign away her claim to 15 years of shared life. Porter would discover that his environmental problems were worse than he'd imagined, and I would finally be free to start over. The phone rang one more time. Porter's number. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. Eden told me about your threats, your blackmail scheme. Eden tells a lot of stories, Porter. The question is, which ones are true? She's scared of you. She should be scared of herself, and so should you. What's that supposed to mean? It means you picked the wrong woman to have an affair with. Eden's not the victim she pretends to be. Ask her about the money, Porter. Ask her where it really went. I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow would bring the final chapter of this story. Eden would sign the papers, Porter would face his consequences, and I would walk away from the wreckage they'd created. Independence Day, indeed.